Welcome to the Truth Podcast. I'm your host, Hany Rambod, and I have two special guests with me today. None other than 7-time Miss Figure Olympia Cyd Gillon and her coach, Damian, the producer.
Yep.
I remember one time you reached out to me and asked me if I was going to sue you.
Yeah.
For that, because I was the pro creator.
Yeah.
And I said, no, I like you too much. I need to sue you.
Yeah. I was one of the lucky few.
Welcome to the Evogen HQ. And finally, we've been talking about you coming out here for a minute, and you've been actually an Evogen coach longer than Sid has been an Evogen athlete.
Yeah.
And it's cool because the other part about this is the fact that you're always, and I talk to Sandy about this all the time, you're like the shadow,
100%.
right? You come in, you handle your business at the shows, and then you roll out.
Yep.
Okay. And so we're going to go into a little bit of depth here on your history of coaching.
Yeah.
7 Olympia titles with Cyd Gillon.
Yep.
That's sitting right across from us.
Yep.
Also, you have several other
Yep.
titles. So let's talk about those.
Oh, man. First one started in 2016 with Courtney King. You guys probably better know her as C-Bum's wife.
Yep.
And then Sid all came along. And then during that time, Whitney Jones, my business partner.
Yep.
And then Andrea Shaw came along. And so, yeah, those are my Olympian champions.
Not too shabby there,
not
brother.
bad. Not quite where you're at, but, you know.
Hey, man.
I'm getting there.
Hey, man.
But you keep getting more. So I'm like, I'm never going to catch you.
Right.
I'm like, I'll go 1 year. I think you had the after Jeremy and Phil, I was like, all right, I'm going to catch them. And then like the year after that, you just went like, whoa. I was like, I'm not catching them.
Hey, you never know. But you're doing an amazing job.
Thank you.
You know, you've been with the brand now for how many years?
Long. Yeah.
Long time.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I remember you and I were just in the gym just about an hour, 2 hours ago,
Yep.
and you remember the original EVP, and
Yep.
you're like, it was grape, but it wasn't even grape like
I don't know
fruit.
what
It was
was.
grape drink.
It was something.
Yeah,
It was something.
It was the original EVP.
You know, it's weird though. I remember even a couple of years ago, I don't know how many years ago, but it was long when it was gone. I still had some. And I remember trying it and I was like, man, I kind of missed it. It's like a pixie stick grape or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very weird flavor.
Yeah, yeah. It was just enough to cover up
Yep.
all of those aminos
Yep.
and all the
Yep.
other ingredients.
Yep.
Because it was a combination of what was back then EVP and Cellchem.
Yeah.
And then what ended up happening was I ended up pooling because it was like 70, I think retail was like $70 at the time. And so what I did was I ended up $75 pulling out some of the ingredients and making its own product, which ended up being Cellchem, which was the second product I ever made. And then EVP was its own thing.
Yep.
And then, I tried to make it more specialized at that point. And then we got really risky and came out with a second flavor. But that was like after 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
It was like the third year.
Yeah, for the longest time, that was all the flavors.
That was it. It was like you could have any flavor you want
Yep.
as long as it was great.
Right.
That's it. But and then obviously I found out that you had Sid on it, and then I was like, we ended up chatting it up backstage at the Arnold a couple years ago, and then ever since then it's been like onward and upward.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
it's been awesome.
Yeah. Well, look, man, there's a lot of things that we can talk about, but one of them is your journey together with Sid. I mean, she's going for number 8 right now.
Mm-hmm.
We're just over 6 weeks out.
Mm-hmm.
And how does it feel to have someone going for number 8?
I mean, it's that elusive number 8. You know it. You know it so much. I mean, you probably can talk more. I'd be interested in hear how that year went for you. To be honest, I try not to process it. I just treat it as another Olympia for me, to be honest. I feel like if the more you think about it, the more you just end up just trying to overthink. As coaches, we tend to try to outthink ourselves instead of just trusting our coaching instinct. I feel like I'm a very instinctive coach. I've been very successful with that, not trying to overthink the process. So yeah, that's my honest answer. I just haven't really thought of it.
Yeah,
But
so you're basically chasing it like it's the first one again.
That's it.
That's exactly how I took it too, and all that. And then I know that Sid, with you, it's been many years. Did you have a coach before, or was there a different coach?
My parents / friend, we were kind of winging it through my first 2 Olympias. So we were just kind of like, oh, we're here. Let's just see what happens. Let's maybe not carb up. Maybe we should. We were just, real deal winging it. So I had a friend who was like, maybe you should try eating like this. And so he would make like a rendition of a plan that I would keep for the entire year and the next year too. Because I was like, oh, You use the same diet plan, use the whole time. It should still work. No. But hey,
let me give you some advice. If your coach is starting off with maybe we should, maybe you should look at talking to your new coach. Yeah. That's a scary term. Maybe we should, you know. But so you guys got together what year?
It'll be 9 years in December. And it was after my second Olympia. That's when we started together. And it was like a fluke of a story for like those who don't know.
Yeah.
It was me and a girl named Adrienne Calhoun. She used to compete years ago. And so we were going down to the Victory Gala. I was like, girl, we don't have any seats left. The only 2 seats left, one next to D and one on the other side next to like Shannon Day, I think it was. I had no clue who anybody was. Again, I'm winging it. I don't know anything from a can of paint. I just know that I'm here.
Right.
I made it to Olympia. This is great. And so I just sat down, and he knows I don't talk. I'm like not a talker. I will sit there in silence and be content with just sitting there in silence. So I sat there. If somebody speaks to me, I speak back. I'm not let me talk first person. So he started talking. I was like, don't know who this guy is, but he kept talking.
But he's handsome. That's what she was thinking. I was a lot more handsome back then. Yeah. That's awesome. She wasn't married back then, Reese. She wasn't even close. You weren't even in the picture.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. So I would see him. I saw him then, and then that's when we first spoke. And then I would see him at the Arnold the next year. And then he would always cast a little joke. You know, he's corny. So he cast a little joke here and there.
Straight up called you corny.
Corny jokes.
True.
And so then he reached out. I don't remember how he reached out, but we talked, and I said, hey, it ain't up to me. It's up to my mama.
Yeah, I'm going to say I talked to your mom.
You got to talk to my mama, because my mama was shutting it down. Because since I was a child at the time, I was I was 22. I was 23 when we started together. So I was 22. So my mom and my friend who passed a few years, last year, they watched my back to make sure I wasn't talking to the wrong people, wasn't moving in the wrong circles, and made sure that I was protected so that I was never taken advantage of. I was always I had people who had my back to make sure I was on the right path.
Right.
And so I was like, it's not up to me. If she says she's cool with it, she's cool with it. Because before it was just me and my parents and my friend. We were just, again, winging it. So for us to allow somebody else to come in, and again, as a control freak, we're letting the reins go at that point. We were winging it, but it was a controlled wing it because it was in my hands. It was still in my control. If I messed up, I messed up. Gotcha. When I put it in somebody else's hands, it's it's a different effect.
Where do you get that controlling nature?
I'm a perfectionist.
No, did you get that from your mom and dad?
I feel like they're both perfectionists in their own ways. They're both Ivy League graduates. They're both my dad was a valedictorian. He got into all 8 Ivies. He was very much that guy.
Where did you go to school?
University of Pennsylvania.
Nice.
For the first one, and then my master's at USC.
Nice.
Yeah, so we came from an Ivy household. My sister's Ivy League graduate too, so everybody was regimented. Right. So we all always just strive for the absolute best in whatever we do. So that kind of came from that. And then I think I'm more controlling than all my family members, though. I'm not gonna lie. I'm pretty sure I'm I'm pretty up there with
Agreed.
it.
What does your husband think of that?
He's used to it. He's kind of he's real mellow. So he's the perfect yin to my yang. I'm up here. He's like, babe, it's not that serious. I'm like, but it is though, because it's Lisa that and Lisa that and Lisa that. So he gets used to it. And now he loves it.
Damn.
He loves when she comes and stays in Arizona. I know that.
He does.
Yeah, speaking of that, so 12 weeks out this year.
Yep.
In the past, you would do 8 weeks out, then it went to 10, then now it's at 12 weeks out.
Yep.
You come over, stay with Damian. You train at his gym.
Yep.
You're there for the entire 12-week prep, or I should say closer to almost 11, right? And then you leave, halfway through?
We usually drive up if it's in Vegas on a Monday.
Okay. Yep. Yeah, the Monday of the show. Yep. You drive up together, and you guys are staying together. And then, are you guys staying at your house?
Yep. I have extra room for her. It's always been there, extra car, so she uses that. She gets everything set up.
And then, do you have to cook for her too?
No. I try not to be home. When she comes there, I disappear.
He's never there.
Yeah, so I disappear. So we very rarely see each other at the house.
Do you still have the scorpions that come in at your house?
In the new house I'm in, no. But
don't jinx me, honey. Come on now.
No, so I'll tell you a story.
Uh-oh.
And I remember him telling me, right? Dan goes, hey, dude, you know about scorpions, right? I'm like, yeah, but you don't have them, do you? And he's like, yeah, I put my foot in my shoe. And I would find him in my shoe.
Yep.
I'm like, dude, I will never go to Phoenix ever again.
Mm-hmm.
I was like,
I've been stung at my previous house, I think, 3 times, twice in my bed.
Are they the seat, like
the
bark,
clear
bark
ones?
scorpions? Yeah, the ones that can crawl. If they can crawl, up the wall and hang, those are the ones you don't want to get bit by.
So what
Or
happened?
stung. They sting you.
I don't know, but did you have to go get like anti-venom?
No, that's more
Like, I don't
for,
know, like a rattlesnake.
kids.
I mean, like,
Very, very few people have like that bad of a reaction. Kids and dogs probably, yes, but most of us adults, it's just a very uncomfortable, paralyzing sting. You know what I mean?
yeah, that's crazy, but that's a sense of commitment too.
Yeah.
Because I know, normally we get Hany out here right around 6-7 weeks out,
Yep.
and again, which is about half of the prep. But with you guys out there like that, you guys ever get into it?
No.
Never.
I've only had to yell at her 2 times.
What were the 2 times?
I was losing my mind.
Yep, one losing her mind, and one time she was not how she should have been on the stage, and that's probably when you were talking when we shot the video about her posing and the reason why she practices posing so much, because I lit her ass up because we lost because of her posing. She
Lost. What show was that?
Phoenix?
No, we didn't lose.
No.
We were just kind of like, it could have been a loss if it had repeated
Is
at
this
the O.
before you started winning the Olympia?
No, I'd won.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the crazy part. I'd won.
So you won the
like
Olympia.
twice.
Did she? It was a show she lost off.
No, that was Brazil when
Brazil,
Latoya,
I
we
did
couldn't
lose
hold
at
your
one point.
quads.
Yep.
And I lit her ass up because I was just like, how you gonna lose a show posing? You know what I mean? And that was when Latoya, I think, had won maybe
1 point.
Yeah, and she was like chasing at her heels,
Uh-huh.
and that should have been a show. She should have been able to kind of go over that hump and turn the corner, and she just couldn't hold her. Steve, I think, was judging.
Oh, yeah, he
And
was.
he buries you when he tries to pose you.
Yeah.
She couldn't hold her quads, and I just said never again. Like, you'll never lose a show because you can't hold a pose. So now if you watch Olympias, she's the only person that doesn't reset, doesn't relax her arms, doesn't try to like do little. Nope, she'll hold that pose for as long as they want to hold it.
After that one time.
That's
Oh
it.
yeah,
That's all it took.
I was scared for myself because I was like, you know how to hold a pose. Like, what's going on? So I said, okay.
Were you coaching back then?
Yes.
You were.
I started coaching when I was 16.
Right.
Yeah, so it's been a long time.
And did you ever coach competitors? Because right now I know, for the audience that doesn't know, Cyd is a very, very well-respected coach in terms of posing. And when I say posing, it's not just figure athletes. It's bikini, figure, every single division of the NPC IFBB Pro League. She goes over every single one. I guarantee you, if you made one up, she'll be able to teach you how to. She'll teach you how to. I needed to learn how to pose in the bedroom for my man.
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to teach you for that one too. That costs extra, but that one is going to be in there. She'll make up something.
I'm sure.
Yeah,
if she's gonna get paid on it, she's gonna
I'm
figure
gonna
it out.
figure it out.
But did you ever try coaching like athletes when you do nutrition or training?
I tried once. I had one lady. She was sweet as pie. She was CrossFitter. She was like, Cyd, I think you can do it, but this was back before like the whole reverse dieting came about and all the new healthier ways of dieting. So I did her the old school diet, pull those carbs, up that cardio.
Yeah.
There you go. You got it, girl. Get up on stage, give it what you got. After that, I looked around, I said, something's shifting in the industry. I was like, there's a better way to do this. I don't know it. So that means I don't need to be trying to do it.
Right.
Like, let me just stay in my lane and just pull over to posing only. And that's when I never did it again. She was my one and only.
And that was when?
That was, I think I just got in third place at the O. So it had to be, what was that? 2016. 2016. That was the last and only time.
When was your first Olympia?
My first win?
No, first Olympia.
2014.
2014.
I had just graduated from college. Yeah.
I think I was coaching Nicole back then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. That was back in the day. God, I'm feeling dated.
You and me both.
Yes. And then, some don't know that you did a TV show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a small one. Yeah, a little small one.
Yeah. Yeah. Talk about that.
I was on Survivor for a while. It's almost, it'll be 9 years ago now. So it was an experience that definitely helped my life outside of the stage. Because a lot of people, they bank on success, financial success in the sport. And that does not happen for everybody. So for me, I was broke as a joke going into my first Olympias. I was banking on the dream, maxing out the credit card, saying like, all right, you can do this. You'll be Miss Olympia one day. And I had this belief that I was just like, okay, though you're maxing out the cards, everybody should not do this. Though you're maxing out the cards, you know in your heart of hearts that this is your destiny. This is what will happen. And I banked on myself and really was like, all right, if you're going to max on these cards and be broke as hell, you better put some foot to the gas. And so that's what I did. And it all worked out. But Survivor was the jumping stone for me to actually get some financial stability because I had just graduated and couldn't get hired anywhere because I knew I was going to really, again, I believed in myself and I knew that I couldn't go into my first Fortune 500 job being like, oh, I got to take off and go to Australia for a week for a bodybuilding show. Like, let's be for real. It's not gonna happen.
No job's gonna.
That's not okay.
Even Ronnie Coleman, eventually it came to a head.
Yeah.
Even as a police officer.
Yeah.
After he won his first Olympia, second Olympia, they were giving him a hard time because of all the time he had taken.
Exactly.
For doing appearances and being Mr. Olympia.
Yeah. Responsibilities.
Like,
Yep.
And that was just half hour away from here at Arlington.
Exactly.
And it's just so when you got your degree, what was your degree in?
My first one was in psychology.
Okay.
Which, again, to be fair, I knew there wasn't any money in that degree. But again, I also was going to a school that people kill themselves to get into and to get out of. So for me, it was like, let me do something that's going to make me happy and allow me to find some type of happiness at this school, because I did not want to be one of those students who got so bogged down, because a lot of us there are perfectionists. So you have to find that balance where you can still thrive, but not so much where they push you over the edge, because it can push. And I've had pins jump off bridges and jump off rooftops. And I said, that's not going to be me. So I found that balance too of how to moderate my perfectionism to where it's only beneficial and not a hindrance to my life. And that started then.
Yeah, you are one of the most driven people I know, like literally in any industry. And I know people in tech. I know people in, entrepreneurship space, everything. And you're like, we joke about it, and I call you the Swiss watch, because everything is just precisely measured. Everything you do. At the end, is it something that you've always been like ever since you were little, or is it something that just turned on in the middle of college, or what was that about?
I've always been very type A my entire life. I've always been regimented. I was the kid, I'm a closet nerd. So I was the person who break down the pins, put the pins back together. Like, oh, somebody's knocking at my desk, taking too long to put something together. I'll put it together myself. Like, I was the engineer type. And so I was always regimented. I think it got more intense as I aged, and I recognized the importance of the values that I've instilled in myself and that my parents instilled in me, and the habits that I created. They just only found me success. So it's like, if it found you success once, why not continue doing it and then go to another level with it to see how much more success you can get. So that's just why I just keep getting crazier and crazier.
Yeah, every year she creates a new habit. It's like her goal. Like, I asked, what's your new habit this year? Because I think most people, when they find success, they either speed up or they slow down. And she speeds up. She finds another way to level up to another level, which even makes me even level up as a coach. So it's definitely keeps me moving, keeps me young.
So what's your new habit this year?
I've developed a couple. So let me get my order. I got to see when they came in. So I think a couple years. Well, the most important one, like we talked about, my cheat meals.
Yes,
that was very important. It was so important that it allowed me to get another month and a half of cheat meals this prep versus last year when my stuff got pulled fast. I was like, damn, where'd my food go? But it's more so as I get older, it's more so about foresight. And it's like, okay, so if you want to have this little cheat meal, how about you condense it so that you can still have it as far as you can and then go from there. So all my cheats, they've been I have a minimum. It has to be 2 burgers, 2 fries. That's the minimum. Otherwise, I shouldn't just have the cheat meal.
Right. And people, I've seen the massacre she calls cheat meal eating. And it's
I don't look at it. I don't watch.
Dude, it's like everybody wants to see National Geographic until they see murder. Right? Yeah. Like, this woman is 5 foot what?
Almost 5'4".
Okay. 5'4" on a good day.
Yes.
And then you're 100 and...
I don't know. I never tell my weight.
Yeah, we don't talk about weight.
All right. Yeah. Well, I'm just going to say it's between 100 and 150.
There you go.
Okay. And even in your off season, which is much heavier than that, if at all, you can put it away like Derek Lunsford.
Yes.
Okay. I've seen Hadi Chopin eat. I've seen Derek Lunsford eat. I've seen Ronnie Coleman eat. I've seen Jay Cutler eat. Hell, I've seen Phil Heath eat, okay? And there's a reason why we call him Burger King, right? Because he can put away the burger.
Yeah.
We call that the Royale with cheese.
Yeah, Royale with cheese,
right?
Yeah.
That man can eat. But there's levels to this game.
Yeah.
And I always say that. But so when you say double, you'll do a burger and another burger.
Yes, 2 burgers minimum, 2 fries minimum.
Minimum 2 fries.
Other than that, it leads to severe hunger pains. No joke.
Yeah.
That's the minimum.
What's your favorite burger?
Ooh, Red Robin. The barbecue bourbon.
Ooh,
Yeah,
solid. That's a
bad
good
boy
burger.
slapping with the sweet potato fries on the side. Or, like we talked about, you go to Five Guys, get their fries, put those on the side, and then you get another fry to go with that one.
And they don't have regular fries. They put like a bag of fries.
Something
with
with
the
the bag,
fries.
yeah.
That's why you go there. Yeah.
And what do you order there?
You just get the little fry.
Oh, you don't do the burger there?
I do sometimes, but their quality has gotten a little bit subpar, so I just stopped going to them
Okay.
and just
Well,
go to
if
somewhere
anybody from Five Guys,
Yeah, tighten up.
If you gotta tighten up, and then if you then you call us, and if you want to do a sponsorship, because so yeah, absolutely. So you end up doing that,
else. Yeah.
and like just so for the audience's sake here, can you just describe some of your biggest cheat meals, because I know some of them.
Oh,
Yeah.
the ones that have gotten visualized are nowhere near what I used to. Like when me and D first got together, mind you, let me give you a preface. When I first started competing for the first 10 years before I met D, no cheat meals existed. You ate whatever you wanted, and then you pulled your carbs for a couple of weeks. That was it. I was 13, 14, 15. Like I was a teenager. So you could pull your carbs and eat whatever throughout the year and be fine. Mm-hmm. When a guy had me say, oh, you get a cheat meal, I said, say less. So I did. So I would go and I had this big muffin I would get from Sam's Club. Okay. You start there. And I tell Reese, I said, babe, we started dating at this time. I said, babe, we had to go over to Five Guys. I eat the muffin on the way to the Five Guys. Okay. You get to the Five Guys. You have the pizza at the house. Small one. To be fair, it was small.
Okay.
And then you have the pizza and the fries and the burger. You put that together and then you do the pizookie. That's the pizza cookie with the ice cream on top of that.
And
that was the biggest one. That was when
Or
we
there'd
first
be
started.
like a public sub in there.
Oh, my pubs.
Like,
That's the healthy one. My pub subs are the healthy ones. See, that's my refinement.
there you go.
I no longer eat pizza on cheat meals. I don't eat pizza at all. I don't eat pasta at all.
Why is that?
It's just too much dairy.
Yeah.
Like I'll eat it like when I do my food festival post show, and that's even gotten better too. I'll eat pizza then. That'll be once a year.
That's how Ronnie was. Ronnie would only eat pizza once a year, and it was after the Olympia. He would order like 10 or 20 pizzas.
Jesus.
Yeah, but he wouldn't eat them all.
Okay.
He would bring it for the family.
Okay.
So Ronnie's family would be back at the suite after the show, and then he would order like 10 bottles of Dom Perignon, and then he would order 10 or 20 pizzas. And so we'd all go back there, do a prayer, and thank God. And then it was time to eat, and it was pizza and champagne. And so Tina, his sister, who happens to have her and I share a birthday, January 4th. So she's a Capricorn like me, and she's very type A. She's like you too. She's like type A. Everybody at this table is type A, but then there's a type A plus plus, and that's the one on the end. That's A plus plus. That's it. But he would turn around, honey, man, hurry up and eat your pizza, bro, because we gotta go to McDonald's, right? So I'm like, okay, Ronnie, it's time to go to McDonald's. And then where are we going? Man, then we going to the club. So it was one of those things where it was just pizza, but that's the only time I've ever seen me eat pizza is right there. And then after that, it was always IHOP and then Outback.
I love my IHOP and I love my Outback.
And then Black Eyed Pea during the day.
Okay.
It was Black Eyed Pea. And so it was just boom, boom, boom. And God rest her soul, his mom, whenever I'd come over there, she knew I liked that hummingbird cake.
Oh,
and then she would make me hummingbird. Oh, Honey's in town. And then she's like, dude, my mom love you. She'd make you hummingbird cake. And she would bring over this hummingbird cake. I didn't know what it was. It's just a cinnamon cake that's so good. I don't even know what's in it to this day. But
pineapples, bananas,
Yes, it's amazing.
Wow.
And then so she would make me that. She'd come over, she'd pull up, and Ronnie would always buy her a new Lexus. And then pull up in her new Lexus, and she would just pull right up on the front of the house. She'd come over there, leave the door open, come right up to the kitchen, get all the food, have it there set. Okay, see you later. Get back in the car. I'm like, love you, Mom. And but it was amazing. So it was one of those things where I know about certain people wanting certain things, and also just understanding it. I remember Flex Wheeler would tell me stories like his thing was like Wendy's. Love Wendy's, right? Unfortunately, he would eat it during his prep. Yeah. So a little bit of self-sabotage. And then his wife would find the wrappers underneath the seat of the car, right? So drive through and all those. And I feel that it takes now a lot more of that mental toughness.
Yeah.
And I think that's what coaching really has become for what you do and what I do, is just to be able to reinforce those things, to be able to have clients such as Sid, to be able to really put an effective game plan together. Because back in the day, I think we had a lot of people who had good genetics, but they just weren't mentally strong enough to be able to really hit the plan.
Yeah.
And then when you do find those people who are coachable, like Phil Heath, you know, who's coached his whole life, who really came up with just really, really good coaching, Division I basketball player, and being able to have someone like that with a drive and focus, then you get some amazing results, right? So you get that hard work plus genetics equals greatness. And right now, you know, you guys are chasing number 8 right now, right? So again, there's been a couple of people, Ronnie Coleman, Lee Haney, both hit 8. Obviously, Phil chased that. I still think to this day he could have won that one, but unfortunately, it didn't work out for him on that one. But I think now when you go back and look at the pictures, most people are like, oh, looking back at it, he probably should have won that. But, and then obviously you cannot leave out the legend Iris Kyle, who had won 10, right? And she doesn't get enough accolades. She really doesn't. You know, so shout out to you, Iris. Honestly, can't wait to, you know, eventually, you know, have her out here in Dallas visiting us, because she has some amazing perspective. And it's one thing to win. It's another thing to repeat over and over and over again. What do you guys think has been the hardest thing for each of you? Starting with you, Sid. What's the hardest thing when it comes to this repeatable process that you guys are creating right now?
Honestly, none of it. Because I'm so neurotic anyway, no matter what I would do, I'd be neurotic about it. So it's kind of like, I always tell people, they're like, oh, how's it feel? I'm like, it's like brushing my teeth. This is my 18th year competing. So my entire teenage years, my entire adult life.
Wait, you told me you're 25.
Look. I wish, but it's none of it is hard to me anymore. It's because you do the same thing every single year and do it better and do it longer. And I've just simplified the process so much because I don't have time to really think about it. Like Dee said, we don't think about it. I think once the job is done. Like, all right, when we need to go back and figure out what we're aiming for next year, look then. After that point, it's time to do the work. No point in keep just dwelling on it. See what needs to be done. Get your critiques. I still get my critiques. I still, hey, what y'all think? What I need to do.
So you go talk to Sandy?
No, yeah. All of them. They'll come and tell me the critiques.
Sandy, Steve, all of them.
Yep. Tell me what I need to do.
Do you get different critiques from different judges?
Yes. Yes.
Got
Yes.
you.
Just so I can get different viewpoints because, again, all those scores matter. The more ones you get, the better. So I think at this point, since it's been so long, it's just in my blood and how I move that none of it, I feel like a lot of people overanalyze the sport and overanalyze themselves and what they're doing. Like, yes, I'm overly analytical, but at the end of the day, that's what I have him for. He's my brain. All I need to do is do the work.
So you basically execute
Yes.
and let him worry about putting the game plan
He
together.
says jump, I say how high.
A lot of worry. A lot of worry.
Hey, man.
A lot of worry.
I know a little thing about that.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. I've watched you over the years, and
I be pacing on the sideline,
Yep.
and then he's pacing behind me.
Yep.
you did good though. The last Olympia, we were in the Orlando. You had earbuds in, and I tried that last year because I saw you like 2 years ago with that. I said, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Because man, those voices and noise in your head. Oof.
Well, let me be honest with you. I'm going to give away a little secret. The reason why I have the earbuds in is they're not on. It's so people don't come talk to me.
Yeah. Yep.
So, again, probably shouldn't be putting this on.
People are going to be tapping on the shoulder. I know you ain't listening to nothing.
I know
I know you can hear me.
you don't even have a phone in your hand, man. No, but it's a thing, man. Yeah. It's a thing. Like, there was times where I would go to the gym and I would have, back before we used to use earbuds, use the wired headset. And actually, to be honest with you, I'm kind of going back to that because I don't know about all this wire, all the radiation for these AirPods that we're using, and a lot of the frequency and what it does to the cells around your ears. So I'm definitely been going back to using the wired ones, but I would literally have it there and I wouldn't even have it plugged in. It would just be in my pocket.
Yeah.
And then they're like, "Hey, what's going on?" And I tap it, and I'm like, "I got my," and then things are hanging out, and I forgot the thing came out of my pocket. And they're like, "Dude, that ain't even plugged in, bro."
You're like, it's new technology. You don't need to plug it in no more. It's like wireless.
It's the Persian version, bro. It's the but on all honesty, I mean that's what I was doing when you saw me, is because I just want to drown out the noise.
Yeah.
And because again, you got thousands of people within the arena, right? So you're not going to be able to really talk anyways.
Yep.
I mean, it does have noise canceling, so if I do need to get a hold of somebody, I can call. But a lot of it is just to block out the noise, and also to just kind of be able to say, "Hey, look, dude, I'm working right now.
Yeah.
It's not. I'm not trying to be rude." And just being able to create a little bit of that kind of barrier.
Yeah.
And so, when you're stressed out, what do? Are you a person who is the guy that sometimes 5 o'clock in the morning you're getting up and you're like, holy shit, I gotta start, you know?
I used to eat, but
Yeah.
something happened a couple of years ago that I no longer eat like I used to.
Can you talk about that?
Yeah, it'd be the first. I never announced it, but I had a heart attack January 28th of 2003. So yeah, I was having a heart attack for about 3 days before I realized it was a heart attack. I just assumed it was a little bit of maybe of a panic attack because when you deal with a lot of stress, you kind of get used to being anxious. Drove myself to the hospital on a Sunday and never got out for a couple of days. So yeah.
So the minute you went in, did you know you were having a heart attack, or did you think you said you were? And again, we talked about this a little bit right after that happened.
Yep.
But and I appreciate you sharing this with the audience, because look, a lot of coaches are listening to this, competitors, ex-competitors, and just being able to kind of understand the mindset, right? We work in a very high stress type of business.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the only thing that's more high stress than coaching is winning.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to do what you live vicariously through your athletes, trying to keep them on top.
Mm-hmm.
And as you're trying to do that, you're literally giving bits and pieces of your soul,
everything,
to reduce the friction of the athletes. And I don't think that everybody realizes that, and how hard and how difficult that is. Because what we do is we are the ones that are going to not sleep. We're the ones that are not going to eat. We're the ones that are not going to train, because we want to do everything we possibly can to make sure that our athletes are going to be their best.
Yeah.
And so when you were going through that, did you end up realizing that moment when you got there that, hey, look, I got to change? Or can you walk us through that a little bit?
Yeah. I'm probably going to get a little emotional. I'm already starting to get a little teary-eyed. It's hard to talk about because I didn't.
It's okay.
I think when you get to the level that we're at, you don't really think about like life or death. You just think about doing your job. You know what I mean? And I just focused so long on just doing my job that I don't really think I ever really cared if I lived or died. You know what I mean? I just didn't. I do what I do. You know what I mean? It is what it is. You know, especially as men, you grind. It's just what you're taught. You just work until the day you die. You know, it's just kind of, it's how I grew up at least. So yeah, when I went there, I didn't know what was going on. So I walked up to the counter and said, "Hey, I think I'm having a heart attack." They took an EKG and actually said, "No, you're not, but something doesn't sound right. Let's take you in the back and draw some blood." Sure. So when they were back there drawing blood, the lady who was drawing blood looked at me, and my jaw was getting really tight, and my chest was starting to really hurt. And she's like, "Are you doing okay?" And I said, "I think I'm just anxious because you guys keep poking me, pulling blood out." She's like, "Well, let's run another EKG," because I had the lead still on me, and they ran that. And as the cardiovascular surgeon or whatever was on staff was walking by, they were like, "Hey, do you want to look at this?" And instantly he yelled something like, "Change of plans, people." And next thing you know, a curtain flies open. 5 people come in, they're speaking in all these tongues that I never understood because I've never dealt with anything in my family with heart, disease. So I called Whitney Jones, my business partner, fitness Olympia champ, because she's dealt with heart stuff. So I called her, and she's told, put me on speaker so I can hear. So she was talking to the doctor, and then I had about 10 minutes. After that, I got wheeled into heart surgery. So I remember my dad just recently had passed, and I remember just saying out loud, I said, "Lord, I'm not ready, so don't come get me." I said, "I'm not ready." And at that point, I realized that I didn't want to die for the first time in my life. Because I had all these people that I didn't tell anybody. Very few people found out. Very, very few people found out. And how people naturally heard because it went through the grapevine, and I realized that there's a lot of people that care about me, and it really bothered me that I didn't care enough about myself to take care of myself. Like, you have people that care about you, and you don't even care about yourself. So it kind of pissed me off. I'm like, you got to do better. So from that point on, my life changed drastically. Like, I actually enjoy what I do for a job. Like, I enjoy my profession, whereas before, I didn't ever stop to enjoy it. It's not like I disliked what I did. I just never took the time to actually appreciate it. You know what I mean? So now it's like I enjoy the people that are in my life. I enjoy going to competitions. It's I don't even know how to explain it. It's just like being born again. You know what I mean? I think as men, you got to hit rock bottom, whether you're an addict, whatever it is, you got to hit rock bottom before you want to really change who you are as a person. And I've changed a lot about who I am as a person. And I can honestly say I'm a much better person, and that was a necessary blip in my life. Like, that had to happen. So I'm grateful that it did, as maybe dumb as that sounds for most people. For me, it was like life-altering.
Yeah, well, I think that obviously everything happens for a reason, but for you going through that, after I heard about it, it was one of those things because, again, we were in the same circles, right? And
you called me from the Arnold.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell? Why didn't you tell me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
And you're a couple years younger than me. And so, obviously, I'm thinking to myself, number one, are you okay? And number two, when I see you, when I see Kim Odo, we all roll together.
Oh, geez, yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Last Mohicans.
Yeah. And we've been doing it for a long time. And one thing we all have in common is we always put everybody else first.
Yep.
And I just feel like, you have so many people out there that are coaches, and all we do is we bleed for our athletes. Yeah. And I remember, I think it was a conversation I had with Naz, my wife, and I just said, one day something's going to end up happening. I don't know when, but I hope it doesn't. But it's going to be one of those things where you're going to end up on Generation Iron, and, it's an obituary post because you just took it too far. I'm thinking to myself and saying, you'll get a bunch of comments saying, I love this videos or whatever. And then they'll think about you for a couple of days, maybe a week max, and then it's over.
That's it.
And then your wife, your loved ones, and your child is going to be the ones that are going to really miss the shit out of you.
Yep.
And it's, again, you have to be able to really take on the ability to put on the oxygen mask, right? Yourself before you turn around and try to save everybody else. And me and C-Bum were talking about it last week. And it was a continued conversation from the first year I think we worked together in 2022. And it's really, there's not a more prominent statement than if you don't take care of yourself, there's nothing else behind it, right?
Yep.
You have to. And we don't, so many of us as coaches don't understand that. And because we always go back to what we know.
Yep.
And I feel it's like, it's one of those things where you have to relearn and remap how your mind thinks and how we go. Because again, I know you've lost some weight, but you were never heavy, right? Never. You never had high blood pressure.
No high blood pressure, high cholesterol, no heart problems running my family, nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you had nothing else going. Blood work looked okay.
Yep.
No.
Don't drink, never done drugs.
Right.
Yep.
Right. So all of those things. But I think the one thing that you did have was used to eat, right?
Lots.
You were stress eating.
Yeah, 100%.
Right.
Every night.
And it was like when the stress, to reduce the stress, to be able to get into a state of relaxation.
To be able to sleep.
And I've done it too, where you get one big meal. You haven't eaten all day. And then you're hopped up on energy drinks or whatever, and then all day you don't eat. And then all of a sudden you're like, hey, look, man, I got to put myself into a food coma so I can kind of
sleep.
self-medicate.
Just to wake up and do it over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's it. And then wake up feeling like dog shit.
Yep,
And
so you do it again.
And you should do it again. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. But so what have you done to kind of circumvent that now? And what was the procedure they did? Did they do stents?
Yeah, so they put two. I had 2 blocks that were like 98, I believe.
Okay.
A third that was 50 and a fourth that was 30. So they won't stent you unless you're above 80. So,
Okay.
So I had 2 stents. Of course, they put you on medications.
Right.
I was on all those for for the first year, 5 of them, and then I started weaning myself off some of them just because I just didn't like the side effects.
Mm.
Yeah, I just
Were you
didn't.
getting like
Blood glucose. Me and you were talking about, being pre-diabetic, diabetic. I was starting to get to where I was more on the high end of the pre-diabetes than I was on the low end.
Mm-hmm.
I'm half Hispanic, so it runs in my family.
Mm-hmm.
Liver enzymes, highest they've ever been in my life.
Really?
Sky high from the statins, which you and I talked about,
Yeah.
I think, when we were talking in the Arnold.
Mm-hmm.
So some of the stuff I went more natural, went over-the-counter medication, and then just shifted my diet. If you would have told me, like, if you would have said, Damian, like on this podcast, I'm gonna give you $10,000 if you could stop eating junk food, I would say, nah, keep your money. But the day I walked out of that hospital, something flipped, and you could put a piece of cake in front of me right now, and that's my all-time favorite. Wouldn't bother me. Like, it just flipped, and I just said, I'm not doing it no more. So I just don't eat like that anymore. I still enjoy food every once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
But when I enjoy it, like I can go to a burger place and eat a burger and not have to eat my fries.
Mm-hmm.
That's just weird. Like it just something just flipped.
some more balance?
Yeah, it just flipped. I just don't do it anymore.
Are you getting workouts in now?
Yeah, getting workouts consistent. I still did back then, but you know
Yeah.
how it is.
Yeah.
Your workouts, you're on
Sure.
your phone answering, and someone's
Yeah.
having a meltdown, so your
Yeah.
workout goes to text message. And I coach women, so I get lots of meltdowns. But yeah, I just and then prioritizing sleep. I wear a Whoop. I was talking to C-Bum when he was at the gym like 2 years ago because I just had started wearing mine. I saw he wore it, so I got all excited to ask him about it. Just really paying attention to everything. Whereas before, I didn't know, and I just didn't.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were tired, didn't matter. Drink an energy drink.
Right.
You're not getting enough sleep, drink an energy drink.
Right.
Maybe take an Adderall or something. You do what you got to do.
Right.
I just don't do that anymore. It's not like that energy drink will last me like 2 days.
Right.
Sips. That's it. Now I just and the people around me know that I'm going to prioritize myself, but still give them everything I got. They're just going to know when my tank's low, I'm going to ask for a day. I'm going to, go to bed maybe earlier. So if you need to talk to me tonight, honey, I'm going to be in bed by 7 o'clock, because I know I need to get my sleep. So
Right.
I control what I can control. And I don't stress as much. It's weird. Like you're still never going to outwork me. Like you coaches out there, like you're just not going to outwork me as a coach. That's not going to happen. But I will make sure that I'm healthy. You know what I mean? So it's just different.
Yeah. No, that's it's good to hear.
Yeah.
It's good to hear that you're building that balance.
Yeah. I still don't like to lose. I still don't like to lose.
Of course.
But
That's what a good
I handle
coach
it.
is.
Yeah. I handle it differently now. You know what I mean? I move on a lot quicker from it.
Yeah.
Because
You don't dwell on it.
Yeah, when we're in this sport, you've been doing it as long as you have and I have, you're going to have more losses than you're going to have wins.
Yeah.
That's just the fact of the matter.
For sure.
When you don't like to lose, it's not, losing sucks. So
It does.
But,
But
now I enjoy the winning, whereas before I never enjoyed that. So I never got a high. There was never a high of like, oh, you won. Okay, yeah, what's next?
Well, I think people don't realize when you're working at this level, you're actually not chasing the high.
Mm-hmm.
You're actually chasing the low.
Yeah.
You're trying to actually stack so many chips. The high
Yeah.
is the gamble
Yep.
of possibly not winning it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just like a gambler. My
Yeah.
dad had a really bad gambling problem. And one thing I learned was the fact that you do not get a high off of winning. They'll keep playing until they lose because a professional gambler knows when to walk away because they have a system, and that's why it's their profession.
Yeah.
A gambling addict is a person who will continue to chase the loss because the high is actually in the loss, not in the win. It's that gut, like kick in the gut that I just lost $10,000, $50,000, $100,000, whatever that is to that person. And I feel that when we're doing it, it's the same situation.
Yeah.
You just don't feel, you're numb to the wins
Yeah.
because you're chasing all the way to that loss.
Yeah.
Not that you're ever trying to get to the loss,
No.
but you're just trying to keep stacking the chips because all you're doing is you're playing let it ride.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's a funny thing because there's not a lot of people you can talk about that.
Yeah.
Because it takes a while. There's a very select group of people that can actually feel that or experience it.
Yeah.
Because you're literally chasing a record.
Yeah.
You're chasing a decade
Yeah.
of just domination.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so what happens is you're really trying to get to a situation where you're just like, make yourself sick.
Yeah.
Physically, where you feel like you got to throw up.
Yeah.
And I've been through it many, many
I'm
times.
sure, yeah.
My wife will tell you, like, just like, and there's a lot of people on this planet that'll tell people, you don't know what I go through.
Yeah.
But this is something where I hate to say this.
Yeah.
They don't know what we go through.
Yeah.
It's a whole different conversation because a lot of people are just trying to chase a win
Yeah.
or maybe one Olympia win or just win, local pro show, whatever it is. But when you're trying to sit there and win the Super Bowl over
Yeah.
and over and over again, it's a whole different animal.
Yeah.
And you have now not only 11 judges,
Yeah.
but you have 1 million that are online that you have to try to be able to also convince that your athlete wins. It's a whole different scenario than
Yeah.
it was 7, 8
Yep,
years ago
yep, yeah.
when there was no internet.
Yeah.
There was no social media.
Mm-hmm.
There was none of those things that were going on that those champions didn't have to have the scrutiny
Yeah.
that these champions have to have.
Yeah.
So it's much, much more difficult. But I guess with all of those things being said, is there anything else that you can share for these coaches out here to be able to understand and how to build balance?
Oh, you might be better at that than me.
I'm still trying to learn it, brother. I mean, you're the
Yeah.
one that went through, a life-altering event that I'm trying to stay away from.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
You know?
exactly. Yeah, I mean, just stay on top of your regular, be consistent with your checkups, get blood work done and pay attention.
But you were doing your blood work, right?
Yeah, but I think I wasn't really paying attention enough to some of the markers of a heart attack and stuff like that. And common sense would tell you
Right.
what we're doing. You're
Right.
you're
Did you
adamant
get
about
your
it.
calcium score?
No, I don't think I just did the basics. I did
Okay.
my hormones, my testosterone, my thyroid,
Got it.
all that stuff, but not really paying attention much to anything else.
Right. So no EKGs,
No.
no cardio stress
No.
tests,
No.
not going to see a cardiologist.
No.
Gotcha.
And I think everyone thinks you have to be a certain age. And the funny thing was, the day I went in, there was 4 other men there, all 40 and under, that all had heart attacks.
Wow.
The same day, same hospital. You know what I mean? So there's a pattern here, and whatever it is, that's another topic, another story, another day to talk. But I just think a lot of us are just not as healthy as we think we are, especially in the fitness industry. We look good, we're healthy, we're lean, we're vascular. We can lift a
you
lot
are,
of
not
weights.
me, but
Yeah, you got a little bit more stress than me. A little bit more.
Like I said, there's levels to this game, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, he's a little bit up there. He's a little bit up there. Just take care of yourself. Listen to warning signs. Our bodies are always going to give us warning signs. You know what I mean? You got a headache for 3 days straight. That's not normal. You dehydrated. Well, get hydrated. You still have issues. You're having heart palpitations. Are you taking energy drinks, Adderall, stuff like that to get you going? If you are, get off of it and see what your body does, and actually get checked. I think men just don't want to do stuff when it comes to health.
You mentioned Adderall a couple of times. Were you using it off and on for a while?
No, I didn't like it. I didn't like how it made me feel the next day, but I would use it when I would get back from a trip and I knew I had to sit down and knock out 20 plans or something like that.
Got it.
I would take a half, maybe 10 milligrams.
Okay.
But I don't naturally have an addictive personality to substances, just because growing up with my mom and stuff. I just didn't like how it made me feel. But still, I still relied on it when I needed it, and energy drinks, which can be, certain ones can be, in my opinion, probably just as bad. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then lack of sleep and, bad foods. And it's just it's a really bad combination.
Yeah, I think the lack of sleep is a big one because that triggers everything else.
Yeah.
Because the longer you don't sleep, the more likely you're to eat.
Yep.
The more likely you're not to sleep, you're more likely you're going to caffeinate.
Yep.
The more likely you caffeinate, the more likely it's not going to work, and then you have to use something stronger.
Yeah.
So I think all of those things go hand to hand, and then your heart becomes even more just
100%.
It just gets more taxed because you're adding so many stimulants to it.
Yeah, and I think it's you have like a lot of international clients throughout your career, and I have some, and trying to find that, staying up late enough to talk to so and so, but then you got to wake up early because you're East Coast people. If you're on the West Coast are up, it's just like you always tell yourself, I'm gonna catch up tomorrow. I'm gonna get more sleep. You never do. So I think just making a good plan of attack, like being more like, Sid and maybe some of the athletes are, having a schedule as a coach is I'd say probably my best tip that allows you to most success for a long period of time.
What's the most important thing you've learned from Sid?
Oh, wow, that's a good question. Good question. Just her level of success. I'm now like you've always been successful since I've known you as far as like multiple ventures. I'm now at the point in my life where I'm like, okay, what else besides just my coaching? So I would say, looking at a bigger picture, trying to find ways to help more people in a way that's not just through coaching, So that's my process in my mind now, is trying to figure out that process. So.
Well, you got a person right across from you.
Yeah, exactly. She's successful in anything she's ever done that I've known.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And like I said, I think it's inspiring. I think Sid's, what I call it is disciplined.
Yeah.
She's ultra disciplined. Not that you and I are not.
Yeah.
But I think she is disciplined in a different format, in a different way.
Yeah.
And not a lot of people are built that way.
Yeah.
Where they can turn around and be able to structure their whole entire day to be so ultra organized that they can be a high level performer. Yeah. And I feel that that's what a lot of people should aspire to, Yeah. And I think if you really break it down, Sid, what do you think is if somebody wants to become a bit more like you, where they can become more organized, more focused, what do you think? Well, how would you coach them into being a better version of themselves?
I always said the plan is the plan. So I plan, like we talked about, ahead of time. So if my day, for instance, we're coming here. If I knew my time schedules were changing, I don't change my sleep schedule. When I go from Georgia, I wake up the same time I wake up in Georgia, any other time zone. When we went to Arizona, then we came here. I redid my whole entire schedule to go to CST, changing my time zones. So that's part one of the organization, of organizing your businesses, organizing what you have to do and what your plans are for that day. And then that's step one. But a lot of people get caught up in the planning because they're like, oh, this is too much. I want to be spontaneous. Okay, then you won't get anything done. If you have one thing to do in your life, that's cool. But if you're a mom, a multi-business owner, you need to structure it so that you're able to give each piece of yourself to every single person. Like even when my family came out, that was a planned day. They came out this past weekend, a planned day that you get this amount of time. After this point, I'm also big with boundaries. Get your boundaries, people. The boundaries in the schedule, nobody plays my schedule. My schedule is set. And then I can make adjustments as long as the schedule allows it. But I think being so rigid so rigid is the word. I'm very, very rigid. Like I can be adaptable, but I'm more so rigid 99% of the time. And I think that's what I would start with. Get more rigid with your time. Get more selective with your time, whether that comes with the people, what you're doing, and what actually matters. And a lot of people don't know how to prioritize. Like, especially when I'm in prep, my priorities are prep. Nothing else. It's prep.
But how do you not get distracted? Like social media, all these things that people, I just noticed that it's a problem for a lot of people.
I think, what it comes down to, and I always say this, is a lot of people don't like themselves. And in our industry, I'd say a smooth 95% are insecure. So if you start from insecurity and not liking yourself, you're going to allow other people to tell you who you are. So part one is knowing who you are. Can't nobody on the internet tell me nothing about me. Not to my face, not behind my back at any point in time. And I've always been that way. So I always say, like, back in the day, like, people used to try to bully me. I can't be bullied. What you gonna tell me? Because I got a slick mouth, okay? Because I will talk back. You're not gonna play with me like that. So I think people, one, have to get a backbone. One, have to love themselves and know themselves and take time to sit with themselves and not reach out for other people's perceptions of what other people's pats on the back. And I think that's a key thing for me, and a key thing that a lot of people should focus on is, again, when you love yourself, everything else falls into play. And I read this quote the other day. It was saying, discipline is the highest form of self-love. That's me. I love myself. I love myself more than anybody else can ever love me. And at the end of the day, I'm going to make sure whatever I need is set, because I can't give to anybody else if I'm not good. So I get really strict with my time. That was my husband, my parents. I don't care what's going on. I tell them, listen, this is my time. I need this for me. You have the other umpteenth months. This is my time. If you're not okay with that, you can go. And so that's another thing with the boundaries, because, again, I know who I am, and I tell people ahead of time. I communicate very well. This is what I'm doing. If it doesn't align with you, that's not my problem. And so I think it's hard on the boundaries, hard on the self-love, and hard on the not caring what other people think. And that just comes from self-love, because you shouldn't care.
Were you always this regimented, or is this something that you kind of continue to kind of progress into the current state of mind that you're in?
I would say I've always been regimented. I had to get more regimented when I went to, probably by the time I started 9th grade in high school, because I started competing at that point. And then, so I would have volleyball practice, basketball practice, track practice. I practiced at 2 places. I practiced at school with high school, and I went to the Morehouse, which is our college in Georgia. I would go to practice with their coach. And I also had to train for bodybuilding at 5 a.m. with my mom before school even started, and then do my homework after I got done with all of my other extracurriculars.
This is in 9th grade?
In 9th grade, all the way through high school. So by the time I got to college, I was like, oh, this is a breeze. Like, I've already had my time management down. Like, I am a time management person. And it's just made my life so much easier, so that I'm able to do all the things. Everybody's like, oh, if you're that strict, you can't do all. No, I can do more, because I am that strict with my time. This gets this much, this gets this much, this gets this much. And when you're regimented like that, it allows you to do all the things and do them well. And that started in high schoschool.
So have you ever had friends that have asked you, hey, can you help me be this regimented?
Yes, one, and she's a struggle.
we ain't gonna mention her name.
We won't mention her name, and she's a struggle because it's not working out.
Oh, I coach her.
No, she has ways to
I
go.
think I know who it is.
No, we ain't talking about it.
I think I know who it is. We'll talk about it off camera.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it off camera. She's a high-level competitor, right?
You know,
Yeah.
maybe. She's an NPC competitor, NPC.
Oh, okay.
No.
NPC competitor.
Yep.
Okay.
High-level NPC.
And so when you were doing that, did you get her to read some books? Is it like that? I'm just curious, because what I'm thinking is that someone's listening to this podcast going, God, man, I wish I was her. I wish I could be able to be that productive, that I can be that organized. What could you suggest people do that are listening right now to be able to become, because they're not going to be you overnight, right? And again, what could you give in terms of advice that somebody can be able to learn to be more organized, be more disciplined, and somebody who can create more structure in their own life?
Say no. A lot of people are scared to say no. I'm a no queen. No. And I think
you know that.
I think a lot of people, they're scared to say no. And that's what gets you in a pickle, because then your whole schedule is overdone. You're wondering why you're overwhelmed. You're wondering why you're stressed, because you did not say no. Especially when you say yes to things you don't even want to do in the first place. How is that benefiting your life? Like, certain things, you're going to have to say yes to. I get that. But saying yes to everything? No, you don't have to do that. And I think once people learn, because again, saying no allows you to know yourself, know your worth, and have boundaries. All those 3 things set you up for success in any facet. But if you can't say no, you're not going to really have much else to do.
Damian, you and I got to learn to say no.
Yeah, you got to say no. Say no.
No. That'd be nice. They'd be like, what? Who is this?
The one time I really tried to put my foot down was with C-Bum. And that lasted a week.
No, that ain't gonna work. That ain't gonna work.
I was like, no. And then my wife's like, you really think maybe on this one you should reconsider this one? And but yeah, I think it was one of those things where a lot of people are trying to relearn that. And like you said, number one I see is that people play victim.
Yep.
Oh yeah,
that's the number one thing. They always want to point the finger at somebody else. They never want to point the finger at themselves for the decisions they made, for where they're at. The second thing is that people do not want to grow. They just feel like somehow they should be able to really level up. And they don't know that you have to. It's like training. You have to create muscle discomfort for there to be muscle growth. The brain is the same way. And what doesn't happen is you just don't wake up and throw a laptop underneath your pillow and you end up, sprinkling some water on there and get some osmosis and be like, I'm going to turn around and create my own AI. I wish it did. Probably did in the future. I call Elon here after we're done. But it's one of those things that it doesn't happen. And so you have to be able to pick up a book. You got to be able to listen to a podcast, but not just sit there and be like, man, that's going to be inspiring me for about 30 minutes or an hour. It's really trying to create effective habits. And those are the things that are really, really important. And that's why I think bodybuilding is so key because it teaches you discipline because you got to get up in the morning. You got to make your meals. You got to do your cardio. You got to be able to train. You got to be able to make sure that you do possibly your second session of cardio. You got to be able to do your ab work. You got to do your posing. You got to do, do all of those things, right? So all of those things, that's why it's so important. I feel that everybody should do at least one contest their entire life. Because it really sets your brain into a different thought process and pattern so that you can actually be able to do more. Because otherwise, if you're not physically in discomfort, you're mentally never going to approach the maximum version of yourself. And that's where, like I said, it's inspiring because every time we talked, it's one of those things. I mean, even when we talked, I got you to say yes once.
Yes, you did. I said yes a lot to you. I will say. I'm like, yes, boss.
But no, especially when it comes to social. And we talked about this during our gym session. And it's one of those things that you're doing a little bit different this year that you're used to not doing before, which is actually being able to make people a part of your journey. This year, as you're going for number 8, you have been able to be very open about my suggestions about saying, hey, look, share with the audience a little bit of not only what you're doing, but how you're looking. I'm not sitting there saying, hey, you need to do your updated pictures to, when you're sitting there doing your updates, but maybe a little bit of, hey, this is my journey. This is what I'm doing. And I'm training and I'm wearing a crop top or I'm wearing, a cutoff or something like that so that as your body's changing. And I guarantee you he would have bet me
it made me nervous. If this was pre-heart attack, you wouldn't have got nope. I would have been calling you. I'd have been calling you on the phone and been like, "F no, F no."
Yeah. Well, now post heart attack.
Yep. I'm good now. I'm like, it's her career and it's up to her decision, and she was okay with it. It's been good.
Well, is that mostly because of the fact that we come from back in the day of not sharing?
You'll never hear me talk. You never hear me give a prediction. We don't talk.
Nope.
Her thing is,
all action.
Yeah, it's silence for a reason. That's her little, thing she has, and it's one of those things. Like I know y'all competitors love competing, but you get on stage before the Olympia and you give me a long enough time to get a sneak peek at what you look like. Not a good idea. Not a good idea.
Because you like to turn around and be able to use that.
Level up. Yeah. You come to my backyard and you show me what you look like. Not good.
But that's also a part of the sport too, because even for me, I know all my competitors' weaknesses. Every single one. If you're within that top 15, I've seen you win a show. I know what places you got. I know what shows you've done. I know why I beat you.
Right.
And that's a part of being a competitor. So if I see it up close in person, because I never see anybody on stage. I see me, and I look for my coach, and I listen for my parents. That's it. I don't see what happens on stage until I watch it back, and that's when I start to study. And I'll go through each call out, watch them turn, one person at a time. And I say, okay, that's why she got there, and I rejudge it for myself so I can see and assess what they're looking like now, what they look like next, where this could go left, where this could go right for them. Different things like that. So I'm able to, because I'm a student of the sports at the end of the day. And the thing is, it's like football. You watch tape. You need to know how people move. So that's what I do in this sport.
She gets every live stream. Obviously, she has a lot of athletes that are competing that she coaches, so she watches, but she'll be texting me, you see so-and-so, blah, blah, blah. You see that? And I said, I already seen it. Trust me. So we always know what's coming around the corner.
So what did you think about Texas Pro?
He's so funny. I think it was definitely a smaller show than I expected, but it makes sense because At a certain point, people know who's competing in certain places, so they try to shy away from those places.
Sure.
Which is neither here nor there. So what I did see was it was cool to see updates on what bodies look like current time, and then you just watch and look and assess and see what's the same, see what's not, see what could go left, and then keep moving forward.
We've seen a lot.
So let me ask you this. Because you started at the same time I was coaching women at the time, how do you see the difference of the different eras, right? Because I had the Jenny Lynn era. Then I, worked with Nicole for her last 2 Olympia wins. And then there's now, right? How do you see that era? And this question is for both of you. What do you look at, starting with you, Sid? Do you see the differences on stage?
Definitely. I see it on stage, and I see it backstage, and I see it online. There's 3 different avenues that are all substantially different from that time. Because back then, Instagram, I think Instagram just was getting hot when, like 2012, I just got my pro card at that time. Back then, the girls were nice enough on the NPC level, I will say. As I started winning and doing better, that shifted quickly. And I was a part of a large part of the shift, Latoria, myself, and Candace, of that shift. And I'm going to just be honest. When that shift started happening, a lot of people didn't like it behind the scenes. Like, I don't know what they saw out there, but people got real uncomfortable, real funky about it, and real mad that we were starting to win. And you can take with that what you may. But being a part of that change, it allowed it to become what I view more of figure, which is you need a bit of muscle on there to have a figure. I consider it like a muscular action figure, a muscular Barbie. That's kind of the thing. So when I was first starting out, I had to get skinny. Is what I called it. For me, I had to be a twig. I mean, a twig. I had to weigh what I weighed in 6th grade on stage.
In 6th grade?
In 6th grade, I was 120 pounds. My first pro win, I was 126, soaking wet.
Wow.
That's a problem.
You still had cheeks.
I still had cheeks, but I was a twig. And to me, that was an issue because even my friend, he was like, listen, you can't train. You can do pull-ups, you can do lunges, and you can run. That was all I could do. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's not healthy.
No.
And so thankfully the shift did happen and it became more of a fuller look, more muscle, so that way you could include different body types. You can include more nationalities that are able to hold that muscle and being more included in the sport. And I think being a part of that shift was pretty cool. Now, in terms of the ladies, we are very much more in a social media era. So a lot of people are coming in without the love for the sport. Back in the day, you were doing bodybuilding because you wanted to do bodybuilding. Yeah. Now it's like, ooh, can I get famous on TikTok? Ooh, how much money can I make? Ooh, can I get this sponsorship?
Right.
So it's very much more show and tell.
Sure.
And I think that's the main difference in why I shied away from updating myself with the new era, because I wanted nothing to do with the showiness of it, because y'all just want to be seen. I'm here to do the work.
Yep.
We're here for 2 different purposes. And I wanted a clear distinction to say, I don't need all of this that you have going on, because I know who I am, I know why I'm here, and my resume speaks for itself. Sure. And so that's why I was more so apprehensive about showing more skin, because it was thrown in. Now, granted, to be fair, it's not like I'm out here with everything out. It's like an arm and a back. You see what I'm saying? Exactly. Exactly.
Belly button and shoulders. That's it.
Exactly. But for me to even have a shoulder out, it's like,
whoa.
Okay. My people are like, Sid, this is crazy. We're not used to this. But I think what I've learned so far is the appreciation for it. And so that's when the benefit of social media does help, because when you have your tribe, you have your tribe. And those people will ride for you. They've never met you. They just watch you and they rock with what you stand for.
Right.
And I think that part of the apprehension also was a lot of the people who follow me also fit the same build of doctors, lawyers, CEOs. And they're like, I don't want to see all that either. And for me, I say, I got it. I don't need to put it out there on the internet. I can look in the mirror and see what I got.
Yeah.
I don't need to be like those other people. And so for me, I was like, how do I make this transition where I don't ostracize the people who backed me for decades before I was anybody, before I was Miss Olympia, and then update it to where I can still include them, but not brush them off as if they didn't matter and if our viewpoint didn't matter. So I think that was a large part of my growth, and I'm actually really, I've gotten very used to it now. It's been like a couple months now. I'm like, oh, okay, I can go out I didn't even go to the grocery store in like sleeves out.
Really? So that wasn't just on social. That was you in general.
All the time.
Just general.
Wow.
Don't look at me. I'm like, I am good out the way. I stay out to mind your business. That's what I do. I mind my business. I stay to myself. And that keeps me out of mess as much as possible. But I think that was the biggest thing. But the update has been really, really cool to even see my older people. They're like, Sid, we understood. And the key thing, I did a YouTube about it to tell them, like, and I labeled it being a private person in the social media world. Two different things. Like, even most people, if you don't know my husband, you don't know his name, I don't tag him. I barely post him.
Yep.
And I told them, when I have kids, you won't see them.
Right.
That's none of your business. This is social media.
Right.
Don't ever act like, because a lot of people are entitled.
Yes.
They think they're entitled to know everything about, this is not what that is. I'm going to give you what I'm going to give you and be appreciative. And so what I've learned is they are appreciative. And I think that makes me want to give more, because they're like, Sid, we appreciate actually seeing how the muscle moves. And even I'm appreciative, because I'm like, oh, that does look kind of cool. I see why you wanted to see it. I get it now. But back then I was trying to avoid this group of people over here. I was trying to avoid it. But I think I found my niche where it's like, it's doing just enough, and it's representative too. Cause like, I had to shift my mindset too and be like, you want to grow the sport. You also want to show women it's okay to have muscle. And if I'm not showing the muscle, I can't show them it's okay to have the muscle and get them in the gym. So it's like, I had to find, like, when I listen to people like my coach and like you, who I know have my best interest at heart, that's when I listen. If I don't even know you like that, be quiet. Yeah. You don't have the right to speak to me on what I should be doing. Those who are in my shoes and know what's best for me, I will listen to those people. That's another thing about boundaries, is knowing who to listen to. Yeah. And make sure that they have your best interest at heart, so that way you grow that way. But overall, it's been, even when I walked in the gym, I had a little crop top on. He was like, what is this? I was like, oh yeah, I updated my presence, just so you know.
At which gym?
My gym.
Oh, when you showed up.
First got there, he was like, what?
When we do check-ins every Friday morning in person, and my gym set up to where there's the bathroom and there's like this little corner and then the hallway, and we do check-ins in the hallway. And she like peeks around. She like peeks, make sure I'm there, and then she comes out real quick and then runs back in. That's how we do check-ins.
And put my clothes back on.
She don't want people to see it.
Yeah.
Mind your business.
So you're not used to that.
No.
Yeah. Has it been overwhelmingly positive?
Overwhelmingly positive. Overwhelmingly. Like, the only issue, one or two guys want to tell me how to do a lateral raise. Sir.
Sure.
Okay. I'm pretty sure my shoulders are okay.
Yeah.
I don't need you to critique anything over here. And one guy, it was only one, I remember it. He wrote in all caps. First of all, who are you talking to? Block. I block real quick. Block. I don't have time. Block. I'm not going to argue with you. Block, block, block. You're gone. You're done. And that's why I do also, again, boundaries. That's how I do my social media. I have different buckets of who gets blocked, who gets restricted, who gets unfollowed. Quick. It's simple. Everything goes in a bucket. You talk crazy, block. You didn't say anything crazy, but you kind of weird, and I can't really get a read on you. You're restricted. So I'm not seeing your comments. You can see them because you're talking to yourself, but you didn't do enough to be put in timeout. That's it. Because you got to think of social media as your place. That's your house.
That's right.
You can clean up house.
100%.
You want to talk crazy? Get the hell out. Bye.
Yeah,
you will not be missed.
It is a privilege for someone to follow you.
That part.
And that's something that people have to understand.
Yes.
I wholly follow that 100%, that adage of you are in their living room.
That's it.
So if you want to be disrespectful, they can kick you out of the living room.
That's right.
They can kick you out of the house. They'll throw you out of the block.
That's right.
And you know what? It's your own damn fault.
That's right.
And that's where you have to understand there's boundaries there.
Yep.
And that's one of those things that, and it sucks because Phil had to go through that in the very beginning.
Yeah.
And there was no rules or rhyme or reason.
Back then,
And back then, and you didn't know how to handle it.
Yeah.
And so all of those things, so he had to kind of pave the way because Ronnie didn't have to do it.
Yeah.
Dorian didn't have to do it. None of those other guys had to deal with that.
Yep.
And he did. And so it was really, really tough. Even Jay didn't have to deal with it, right? So when you look at those things and you go, wow, it's a double-edged sword.
It is.
But I do think that you inspire so many people. You have the best physique on the planet. And to show a little bit of that, right? for the inspirational purposes, for all those people that look up to you as being 7-time champ, I think that is absolutely wonderful. And I'm so glad that you changed your mind.
Well, thank you.
And you're showing more. And I think I'm seeing a lot more people interact.
Yes.
I'm seeing a lot more people.
Well, that's where the crazies come from. I'm like, damn. Back when I ain't show no skin, y'all were not here.
Well, now those people are just sometimes they're a little obsessed.
Yes,
But
they are.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. You
God.
ever see me in a tank top? You see a lot of comments. But I'm gonna have to get Damian over here to shave my back.
Hey, I'll be right there with you.
But you know, in all honesty, I really appreciate you guys. I mean, you know, coming out here, coming out from Phoenix in the middle of your prep, being able to share this with the audience, getting a workout in. Again, when you guys see this video, there will be a workout out here that we're going to be able to share on the Evogen channel that we walk through them doing shoulders, being able to kind of go through it and step by step technique, a lot of questions and answers. And I feel like, again, those are the things that I really wanted to be able to share with our community. And I feel that there are so many amazing athletes out there, and they're just looking for how to get to that next level. What's that next information? And not everybody has access to coaches like yourself. And so what we want to do is just give them just a little bit to be able to go to that next level and break that plateau. And I think videos like that, hearing things like this. So again, if you're a coach or a competitor, ex-competitor, guys, you can't eat the 6 meals a day of steak and rice. You don't need that anymore. You might have needed it back when you were competing back in the day, but you need to take care of your health, get your blood work done, get together with your cardiologist, make sure you get a calcium score done, make sure you go in, do a stress test, a cardio stress test, get your heart looked at, and get your blood work done on a regular basis, you know? And I think that this is a testament to that. And so, again, thank you. I know you hadn't shared that information with anybody else out there.
Well, I thought about it, but I'm not big on my personal life yet.
Yeah. Well, again, I think it's going to be, say, not just 1 or 2 people. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to really, really thank you for that. So, and I thank you.
I appreciate it.
And Sid, thank you so much for taking the time, you know, your busy schedule with all of your clients and everything else, and putting things on the sideline for us to be able to get this podcast done and get a training session in. So we got one more workout tomorrow. You guys are going to train tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
And then you guys are back over to Phoenix.
Yeah.
And you guys, again, we'll go ahead and put the social media channels together so you can be able to follow their journey. And Hany Rambod, 7-time champ Sid, the Mr. Producer himself, Damian. And that's the truth.